Yeah, we're back, and this week it's for a really historic event. I'm pretty pumped up for this one. UFC 279. I feel like this is one of the biggest events UFC has put on in a long time. I mean, just from the traction online, the buzz about it. I don't know too many fights recently, especially not this year, that are going to top this fight. And I definitely think this is going to do a lot of pay-per-view numbers. I'm curious to what you guys think. I mean, how many pay-per-views do you think this card is going to sell? Put it down in the comments. And kind of curious because I think it could sell over 1 million pay-per-views for sure. And first off, I just want to say my bad for putting this video out so late. I'm going to try to get out the next week's video early just because of this, but had some family stuff going on, had to travel, so kind of set me back a little bit. But yeah, man, I think I actually have a pretty good read on quite a few of these fights. I'm pretty confident. I have some bets up already on the Patreon, so if you're interested, I have 4 bets already posted on patreon.com/MMAPredictionGuru, so definitely go and check that out. We're going to be making some money this weekend. And besides that, man, let's try to get 150 likes on this video. I'd really appreciate it, and that would go a long way in trying to push the video. And yeah, man, really appreciate everyone that watches and supports the channel. But let's get into this first fight of the night here with Darian Weeks. He's going to be taking on Johan Lainesse, and both these guys are still looking for their first win in the UFC. And Darian Weeks, he's 0-2. He fought 2 guys that are really good, though. He fought Brian Barberena. He fought Ian Gary. Both those guys are around the top 15. I mean, I would say they're right there. And Johan Lainesse, he had to face against a really good guy, too. He faced Gabe Green, who's super durable. And he landed a kill shot on, or what would have been a kill shot on 99% of humans. But Gabe Green was able to survive and then come back and finish Lainesse. And style-wise, Weeks and Lainesse fight totally opposite of each other. Darian Weeks, he's a muscular fighter. He's a short, compact frame. Whereas Lainesse, he has long arms, long legs. He's more lean and lanky. And Weeks has a good gas tank. He tends to get better as the fight goes on. He mainly is, in my opinion, in this fight, going to try to grapple. And Johan Lainesse, he's a bomber. He goes out there early and tries to take opponents' heads off and then kind of slows down after the first round. Both guys were actually scheduled to face different opponents. Both of their opponents pulled out, so they matched them up together. Darian Weeks was getting ready to face one of the best strikers in glory ever in Cedric Doumbia, and that fight ended up not going off. So now Darian Weeks went from a game plan that it's probably pretty similar. You know, he was probably going to go in there and wrestle against Cedric, and now he's going to go in there and try to wrestle against Johan Lainesse. And Johan Lainesse, he was scheduled to fight against a good fighter, a guy in Miguel Baeza, who's on a bad run, but skill-wise, I think he poses a lot more issues than Darian Weeks would have. So I think it's a bit of an easier fight. But Baeza does have chin issues. He doesn't push the highest pace, and Weeks is going to be more durable and probably try to wrestle more than Baeza would have. But Darian Weeks, he's, like I said, a big, sturdy wrestler. He's not great anywhere, but he has good cardio. He has strength. He has experience and toughness. And he's not a great striker. On the feet, he pressures forward. He's a little bit flat-footed, but he has power. He is a little stiff, but has a good check hook. He'll explode in with a 3-2. His kicking game is okay. He'll throw some front kicks, round kicks to the body, some leg kicks. Overall, his striking is basically just used to back fighters up and get in a close range where he can throw the big hooks and some nice knees. He's fairly effective with his dirty boxing. His defense is not the best. He doesn't feint much. He's a little bit slow and rigid and definitely susceptible to shots up the middle. He is heavy on that lead leg. He's susceptible to low kicks and super durable. He's only been finished once via doctor stoppage in 25 fights, amateur and pro. So fighters have to expect Weeks to continue to press forward and be there for 15 minutes. Weeks in his last fight, though, even though he was pressuring a lot, he went into survival mode a little bit. He was looking to close the gap and clinch and stall and very hesitant defensive. He stood on the outside and moved more and more as the fight went on. I feel as if he can move more into a mode of trying to just get to the final bell rather than trying to win and be more defensive than offensive when he feels he's in danger trying to close the distance. And with Johan Lainesse, he's going to have to, you know, face that danger in the eye, or I think he's going to lose the fight. But Darian Weeks' wrestling is all right. He's strong in the clinch. He likes to catch kicks, and he'll hit takedowns that way. I've seen him look to attack singles, but he hasn't really shown a great ability to hold fighters down, and his grappling is pretty ineffective. He does not have much of a submission game, doesn't really have big ground and pound. Most of the time, if Weeks is going to finish, I think it's going to be with the left hook on the feet or a big overhand. And when he's going to actually hold guys down and have success on the ground, I think it's going to be more because he breaks them or they're very tired. But Weeks is a tough fighter, and he's, a guy that's going to be there, but I think he's a very beatable fighter. Johan Lainesse, this guy's a savage. He goes for the finish. He has insane one-punch knockout power, long rangey, good speed. He likes to pressure forward. He switches stances, looks for the kill shots, throws really big 3-2s, 2-3s. And if I were Lainesse, I would look to attack with leg kicks in this fight. He also has nice uppercuts. On the inside, he's very dangerous because he has short range power. He has nice hooks. He will mix it into the body. And he has power on his jab, on his left hook. So he has power in both hands. And he mixes in some good round kicks, good kicks, body, head. And early on when he's fresh, I definitely see him bossing the fight and controlling the center. If Weeks tries to walk down and stay in a phone booth on this early in the fight, I think he could get put to sleep. And I think he knows that, so he's going to try to start slow, pressure, without taking many risks. And I think that's going to help Lainesse's cardio hold up because I don't think Weeks is going to push that high of a pace. Lainesse has cardio issues because he throws everything so hard. And one thing about him is he never will shortchange you on effort. Even when he gasses, you'll stand and fight, and he's dangerous. But he does slow down. He becomes more hittable. He'll start to overextend and get sloppy. And it seems like he also has some issues taking body shots. So body shots could potentially be something that Darian Weeks is going to try to do here. But Lainesse has pretty good wrestling himself. He has nice level changes, good double. He's aggressive on top, but just like Weeks, he doesn't really have great top control. His takedown defense is pretty good, and I feel like he's going to be able to defend most of the takedowns against fighters unless they're elite wrestlers. His cardio, like I said, is questionable, so I definitely think Weeks has to push the pace, but I think Lainesse is going to be too much here. I think he does have, a lot of ways to win. Weeks, I don't see him pushing a high pace. I think he is at a 4-inch reach disadvantage. He's slower. He has slower hands, slower feet, and he's outgunned power-wise. I think that Weeks is going to be a little bit hesitant to taste the power of Lainesse, and due to that, I think that Lainesse is going to be able to get his timing, and I just see Lainesse being on the outside, being able to, land those straight shots, land those uppercuts, and, pretty dynamic. And I definitely think he's the more dangerous striker and grappler in the matchup. I think his wrestling is actually better than Weeks's. I think he's a little bit more, he has more emphasis when he goes for the takedowns and really goes for it. But I feel like the wrestling to me is a bit of a wash, and I don't think neither guy's going to have success holding each other down. So I think it's going to be a stand-up fight, and I just think Lainesse has the length. He's a little bit more dynamic, a little bit faster, and he has the power. So I think he's either going to go out there and get a first-round knockout, or if Weeks is tough enough to survive like usual, he'll get that decision. So I'm going to go with Lainesse, and I think he is, a decent pick as an underdog here. And with this next fight, this should be another good one. It should be a striking fight, and Elise Reed, she's in a do-or-die situation here, if you ask me. She's been finished and dominated in 2 of her 3 UFC fights. She did get an upset win over Corey McKenna, but I feel like she can't afford another loss, especially another finish loss. She's almost 30 years old, and going 1-3 in the UFC, I could see her not sticking around. In her career, she's really struggled mainly with grapplers and wrestlers, and this is the type of matchup that Reed wants. It's going to be a striking fight, and we'll see what happens. But Melissa Martinez is going to be her UFC debut. She hasn't fought in almost 3 years, but she's one of the best female Mexican prospects today going. And she took time off from MMA in the last few years to compete in the World Championships for kickboxing. She won a gold medal at the 2021 WACO World Championships, World Association of Kickboxing World Championships, and that accolade, along with winning the gold at the 2017 Pan Ams, being a 6-time Mexican kickboxing champion, I think kind of proved to her that she was able to compete and beat the best of the best in that world, and now she's making her push in MMA, and she's already 7-0. She's the former Combates champion, and at 24 years old, now 25, barely 25, she, is someone that could develop and potentially be a threat in the UFC for years. Both these girls have had long camps get ready for this fight, so they should be on point, and we should see a fun fight with Melissa Martinez, the newcomer. She's a southpaw, and as you would assume, she's a very good striker. She has really good footwork, feints, movement. She's aggressive. She uses a lot of side-to-side movement, dart in, dart out with strikes, and tries to pull fighters into counters. She has good pull twos with the left cross. She's a really nice right hook, and She has no issues brawling. She has very fast hands in those exchanges. She picks her shots well, good composure, and she has really fast kicks. She brings the left kick to the legs, body, and head extremely fast. She can throw kicks with both legs, and she uses a plethora of different kicks. She has amazing dexterity. She'll throw some axe kicks, question mark kicks, side kicks, and when she gets her range and gets her confidence, she's very fun to watch. She'll put together some real nice combos, and she's gotten 4 finishes out of her 7 wins. And she's still green in the wrestling and grappling department. The last time we saw her in MMA for sure, but she's made improvements in short periods of time if you watch her fights, and now she's had about 3 years to get ready for this one. So I'm feeling that if she's been working on her wrestling or grappling, she's going to come in here and potentially be an even better version. And she already has really good balance. She has good takedown defense. Her striking in the scrambles is dangerous too. You have to watch out for her knees. She was able to get a really nice knee knockout against Caroline Garlado when she fought her. And in her last bout, she fought a big fighter for the division with a wrestling heavy style, and it was a really close fight. She struggled to get off the cage. She got taken down in the second and third round. She got put in some bad positions, but she was able to show, at least a little bit of grappling. She was able to, use a guillotine to force Giannis to her back in the third round and ended up winning that round. And, I believe with the layoff, like I said, I think she's going to have been worked on her grappling, and being young, training out of Mexico, she's going to be well conditioned, super tough. And more than likely, she's going to get the striking fight she desires, though. But just be aware that Reed may look to take her down. Reed is okay on the ground. She's not really a wrestler, but she probably has the advantage there if she could somehow get on top. For Elise Reed, she's been match made really tough in the UFC, and it's unfortunate because I think she's actually definitely good enough to be in the company and a pretty fun fighter to watch. An underrated striker. She has a bladed stance. She's light on her feet, good side-to-side movement. She has sharp hands. She's a really nice jab. Good pull, too. Her check hook is really nice. Good job controlling the distance with counters, and her power is not bad. She's comfortable pull countering in the pocket, but she sometimes does float her chin, and I think that could be an issue in this fight because Martinez does throw extended combinations. She likes to end combinations with head kicks, and I could see her maybe catching a high kick in this fight, but Reed has to be a little bit better with her defense in that sense, and she has good kicks herself. She has nice side kicks, leg kicks. She doesn't really throw the kicks with the same type of fighting intention like Martinez. Her kicks are more to maintain distance and score points, but she has fast hands, good hands. She's precise, and when she's fresh and sharp early on, she's a pretty powerful puncher as well, but she doesn't really have the cardio to me to stay sharp for 3 rounds. She tends to kind of slow down her speed a little bit after that first round. She's still dangerous, but not quite as on, and I do think Martinez has the advantage in the cardio department. And Elise Reed, she's not a grappler. She doesn't really look to wrestle offensively, and she's had issues with fighters taking her down and exploiting her on the ground. Both of her UFC losses, both of her losses as a pro were ground and pound losses, and her jiu-jitsu is, I believe, probably quite a bit better than Martinez's, but she hasn't really shown an ability to get the fight to the ground. She has shown a decent ability off her back. She's been able to defend some takedowns and get on top that way. But I don't really see Reed mixing it up and trying to wrestle in this fight. I don't really think she has the wrestling to make that a successful strategy if she does have that game plan. And I think in this fight, Reed's going to have to go out there and out kickbox Martinez. And I think it's going to be competitive for a little bit this fight. But eventually I see Martinez's cardio, technique, and composure taking over. I think she's going to be a slightly fast girl from the start, but I think as the fight goes on, she's going to become much faster. And like I said, I could see her landing a high kick or an extended combination and hurting Reed. And I wouldn't be surprised to see her get a highlight reel KO. So I'm going to say Martinez actually gets a second round KO with the left high kick and gets a knockout win for a UFC debut. And this next fight, we got a men's 135-pound fight with Chad Anheliger taking on Heili Alateng. And Chad Anheliger, he has been on a tear of late. He, was able to get that knockout over Jesse Strader in the third round in his UFC debut. And overall, he's won 10 fights in a row. He's 35 years old, so every fight is pivotal for him. And he's going to have to fight for his life in there. And he's a man who's, went and got it out the mud. So to make it to the UFC after starting your career at 2-5 is an accomplishment in itself. And now he's looking to make some noise and make some money. And he's a striker. He utilizes a long bladed stance. He likes to pressure. He's light on his feet. He can bounce in and out of range pretty well. He has good feints. throws some nice leg kicks and basically just tries to bait guys in a pull counter. Sharp hands. He's a nice left hook, good straight right hand. He slips them in, and he's real clean and accurate. He also has power. His head movement is good, and against fighters that want to brawl with him and pressure, those are guys that he shines against because he throws a lot of volume. He has a chin. He's relentless. He's powerful, and he's sharp. He has good boxing, and he's shown the ability to put fighters down with one punch. I mean, he did that against Jesse Strader. He's done it on the regional scene against some other fighters. And he also has some good clinch knees to the body, to the head. He was able to drop his opponent on the Contender Series with the knee. And good eyes, good distance control, good defense. His style is dangerous, though, because he holds his hands low. He likes to stand right in front of guys so he can pull counter. And if he can kind of mistime it, there is a chance that he can get clipped with his hands down. And definitely, is a dangerous style, but he's good at it. And grappling wise, wrestling wise, that's the weakest part of Anheliger's MMA game. He has average takedown defense, and when he does get taken down, he will try to stand back up immediately, but he makes some mistakes. He likes to give his back to stand up, and he is good at not letting guys get the hooks in or not really getting finished when fighters get into the back mount and end up working on top or working back up to his feet. And he hasn't fought many jiu-jitsu guys, though, so that's something that could change once he starts fighting better grapplers. In this fight, I don't think he's going to have to worry about Alateng taking this back and putting the hooks in and submitting him or anything, though. And I do believe once Anheliger fights an opponent that really can grind on him, I think he's going to struggle. But I think that Alateng is a guy that is an okay wrestler that more likes to brawl. So it might end up being a good matchup for Anheliger. Anheliger's tough, and he's not just going to go out there and roll over. He does have 5 submission losses, so obviously if you get him on the ground, he's a little bit exploitable, but he showed a great gas tank and the ability to survive getting taken down, get back up to his feet, and do well in his fight in the Contender Series against a real good wrestler. Won that fight by a controversial decision, but it was still close, and he got the job done. And Anheliger, he's going to have the cardio, he's going to throw the volume, and he's going to have the precision and power to put you out. So Alateng, he's going to have to be sharp, and he's going to have to be ready to go. And this can be his second fight of the year of 2022. He had a really nice performance his last time out there with the 47-second knockout victory against Kevin Kroom. And he's been up and down in the UFC. He debuted in 2019. He went 2-0. Then he had a loss and a draw. And then his last fight, he got the finish. That was his first finish in the UFC. And, now he's training at Fight Ready. He's 30 years old, so he's coming into his prime and is looking to make that push. Fight Ready obviously has gotten a lot of those Asian fighters and built them up really well. And we just saw, who was that recently that came out of Fight Ready? Denai Baccarat came in there, I believe, and looked pretty good in his fight against Jay Perrin. And now Alateng is going to be looking to follow suit. And Alateng is a hard-nosed, well-rounded fighter. He, I believe, is going to want to wrestle in this fight. On the feet, I think Anheliger has the edge. Alateng has great durability, he has really good cardio, but he's not the most technical striker. And he just tries to counter with the 1-2s or 3-2s. He'll throw some big overhands, but footwork-wise, he's plotty, he's flat-footed, he's a little bit stiff, and very hittable, very susceptible to kicks. We've seen that he doesn't do really well against that southpaw style, but he does have power. So if he can find that shot on Anheliger, he could hurt him. 5 knockout wins. And he's been knocked out 3 times, but none since 2017. And you're going to have to put this guy out to get him to stop coming. And he's not an active wrestler or grappler, but in this fight, I think he has to go forward, back up Anheliger, clinch him, try to chain wrestle, take him down, or level change, and Anheliger overextends, get that single, get that double. He hasn't really shown much of a top game in his career. He's only shown the ability to take guys down but not hold them down. But, we're going to see. I mean, when Alateng gets on top, he mainly just tries to work body headshots from full guard, and that's about it. And he has good cardio. He's no quitting him. But I haven't really seen a fight where he's been able to win with his wrestling and grappling solely. And with this fight, I think Chad Anheliger is just going to have to stay sharp. He's the better striker. I think he will get the better of almost all the exchanges. And I believe he can land a lot of clean punch counters. I also believe that he's going to control the center. I think he's going to be the fighter going forward in the contest. And Alateng is going to have to brawl to set up takedowns. And obviously has really good durability. And Anheliger hasn't shown a bad chin. But maybe if Alateng can get him into a brawl, he can land something heavy and hurt Anheliger. And Heili, to me, really is not active enough with the wrestling for me to feel like that's going to be an effective game plan for him. And I don't think he's going to be able to hold Anheliger down either. So I think Anheliger is sharp. He's going to counter distance. He's going to control distance and counter, and he's going to, sometimes overextend, but I think if he does a better job of that, he's not going to get taken down much, if at all. And if he does get taken down, I see him get back up to his feet, and I just think he's going to get a little bit better of the striking. And Aguilera has a chance another KO here because, Heili, he's so tough, and obviously he comes forward and takes a lot of damage. So if Anheliger can land a lot of clean counters, then eventually he could put him down. But I think Anheliger is going to be a little bit hesitant of the takedown, and I'm going to say that kind of slows him down a little bit and makes it a decision win here. Alateng is a younger fighter. He's coming off a big win, and I think teaming up with Fight Ready is good for his career. So I understand why he's the favorite, but I think that Anheliger is just a little bit better, and I think that he's going to be able to get a little bit better of the striking. I think that he has more experience, and he's going to want it a little bit more in there because it's a do-or-die situation for him every time he goes out there with his age and, the way his career went. So I'm going to go with Anheliger, and I'm going to say he gets the slight upset here via decision. And this next one, we got another female fight with Norma Dumont and Danyelle Wolf, and this is a rare 145-pound fight with Norma Dumont welcoming Danyelle Wolf to the octagon for the first time. And Norma Dumont, she's been up and down so far in the UFC. She's had some impressive performance, but also a couple subpar performances. And her first UFC fight is forgivable because she did take it on short notice, but went out there, got knocked out in the first round against Megan Anderson. Then she did run off 3 wins in a row. She was able to beat some big names too, with Aspen Ladd, Felicia Spencer mixed in there. Her win over Ladd was 5 rounds. And if Dumont would have won her fight with Macy Chiasson, I think she probably would have been in line for the title fight next, but she lost the decision in her last fight, and now she's getting a chance to redeem herself on Saturday. Her last fight was her first UFC pay-per-view appearance, so breaking through on a pay-per-view is still a goal for Dumont, and we'll see if she can do it here. For Norma, she's a stand-up black belt, jiu-jitsu black belt. In MMA, she's more of a striker, but definitely, I believe in this fight, she'll try to mix it up and wrestle. On the feet, she holds her hands down and likes to move around on the outside. She has good foot speed. She'll try to work the jab, the left hook, keep the distance as fighters come in. She has fast hands, and when girls close the distance, she'll throw with heat and brawl with some nice 1-2s, followed by the left hook. She can be a little bit low volume and flat-footed, especially against fighters that have good footwork. But I feel like in this fight, she has to be more aggressive and close that distance. She can't stay on the outside. And she can also have issues at times pulling back with her chin high and leaving her chin exposed and getting clipped. Her defense sometimes leaves a little bit to be desired. And I think that her chin is a little bit questionable. She got put to sleep against Megan Anderson. We've seen her get rocked in a couple other fights. And she struggled a little bit with the length of Macy Chiasson. She lost to Anderson. And now she's going to have a third chance to solve the puzzle of beating a real tall, long striker here with Danyelle Wolf. And Dumont, she's a black belt, but she struggles to get fights to the ground. She gets most of her takedowns in the clinch, and I think that's going to be very tough to do against the taller and stronger fighter in Danyelle Wolf. And I also believe that Dumont does not go for takedowns because she has a cardio problem. She doesn't want to, blow out her gas tank trying to wrestle. And when she does get on top, she can't float very effectively. She has a couple of rear naked chokes, and I think she'll have a big advantage if she can get on top in this fight. I think it's imperative for her to wrestle here, so she has to be in the greatest shape she's ever been cardio-wise. Her wrestling has to be sharper than ever, and she has to go in there and show off her jiu-jitsu. For Danyelle Wolf, she's a bit of a peculiar case. She's only 1-0 in MMA, and she got signed off the strength of her amateur boxing career, and also there being not many girls at 145 pounds. And she was a 3-time United States national champion in boxing. She competed at 152 pounds, which did not have a lot of fighters, so the Olympics did not add the weight in 2012 or 2016, and due to that, Wolf decided to make the transition to MMA, and in 2020, she had her first MMA fight. It was on the Contender Series, and she was able to get the win over a girl that's actually a pretty solid opponent, and the current Invicta featherweight or bantamweight champion in Tanisha Tennant, and she won that fight via decision. That win got Wolf signed by the UFC, and she's not competed in MMA since then. So that fight was in September of 2020, September 15th, actually, so almost 2 years to the day. She'll be fighting on Saturday, and she tried to actually, I believe, after the fight on the Contender Series, they did open up her weight class for the Olympics in 2020. And obviously, I don't know what happened with that, but I think she tried to come back at the Olympic trials, but she didn't make the team, and then decided to come back to MMA, and she signed to fight Felicia Spencer in 2021 and ended up suffering an injury. It took her out of commission, and now she's came back just now. So the time off could be looked at as a bad thing, but as long as she hasn't been totally immobilized or unable to train over these last couple years, I think that taking time off and kind of staying in the gym, maybe being able to work on your grappling or kicking or some sort of thing with MMA in mind, that could make her more well-rounded. She is 38 years old, so obviously she's up there in age, but the good thing for Wolf is, I mean, if she beats Dumont, she's going to be ranked number 1 in the division. We honestly could see Danyelle Wolf get a title shot just off one UFC win and a 2-0 record if she wins impressively. And Wolf is an amazing athlete. I mean, she's one of the best athletes to me in all of the women's divisions in the UFC. Even at 38, 39 years old, she's ripped. She's in great shape. She's super strong. She's quick. She's explosive. She played 3 sports in college and then went on to have great success in boxing. Her athleticism and physical gifts are most definitely huge reasons why she's had such success in all the sports she's went to. She's 5'11". She has a 70-inch reach. She's one of the heaviest fighters, I believe, in the female divisions, if not the heaviest, and also one of the strongest. She's explosive, and obviously she has very, very good hands. She's very crisp, real nice straight shots down the middle, and she's going to have the length edge on most opponents, so she also has really good footwork. She stays long. She has the ability to move for 15 minutes and walk girls into her straight shots. Pretty good kicks as well, surprisingly good kicks with the rear leg. She'll throw some heavy leg kicks, nice front kicks, round kicks to the body, and she's definitely, I believe, going to be susceptible to good kickers. We saw a little bit of Tanisha Tennant have success kicking Danyelle Wolf, and I think leg kicks are going to be something that Wolf is going to struggle with, body kicks. And I also think Wolf is going to struggle a little bit against girls that kind of say fuck it, kind of force a brawl, because she wants to be pretty. She works the straight shots, but if someone is actually willing to eat those shots, walk through them, and force a brawl, I think on the inside, they can kind of get a little bit of the better of Wolf because she's taller, longer, and she doesn't do as well on that inside fighting. We saw Tanisha Tennant have a couple blitzes and some success in the second round on the feet against Danyelle Wolf by just pressuring her and being a dog. And Wolf has a great chin. I mean, she could take big punches, but we did see her hurt to the body with the liver kick, and I feel like maybe attacking the body to open up the head is a way to take out Wolf. But I was impressed with her in that fight because she was able to come back in that third round. It was a 1-1 fight. She had just lost the second round. She didn't have the momentum, and she dogged it out. She came back. She was throwing heat. She was really attacking heavy with that right hand, and she definitely has that fighter's instinct, and she's going to go hard for the win. I mean, she had a lot of experience as an amateur boxer as well, and you kind of can look at that and get a false narrative. I mean, I think that she does have some power. You see her snap Tanisha Tennant's head back with some big shots, and obviously in MMA, they're going to be wearing smaller gloves, and Danyelle Wolf also fought in the amateurs, so they were wearing headgear. They were wearing 16-ounce gloves, I believe, and all 44 of her fights went to decision. She was 30-14, so when you look at that, I mean, and say, okay, she's never gotten a knockout, it is a little bit deceiving because also they're fighting 4 2-minute rounds, so they're only fighting for 8 minutes as well. But Wolf obviously doesn't possess that huge power. Even with the short time frame, with the big gloves, with the headgear, if she had like crazy knockout power, you'd think she'd have at least a few knockouts. But, you know, in that same, vein, you could say she has a good chin as well because she's had 44 fights, 45 if you count her MMA fight, and she's never been finished at all. She's never, I believe I saw as an amateur, she never got dropped either. So that's something that she can hold her head high about. But she's putting some work in the grappling and wrestling. I mean, she was able to go out there and win the IBJJF gold medal at the white belt level, and at least showed she's put some time into jiu-jitsu. I don't know if she's progressed in belts since then or what she's been doing in terms of the grappling, but in a fight with Tanisha Tennant, she showed her physical strength, her ability to get off the cage, just by just beasting their opponent and being real effective that way. And I do feel like someone who isn't a wrestler and doesn't push it really hard is going to struggle to get Wolf down. Wolf has great balance. She's super strong. She keeps the distance pretty good. She hardly ever overextends. I don't know how Wolf will be off of her back, but I did see, or I guess I did see her a little bit off her back against Tennant. I mean, she showed okay ability on the ground. She was able to explode out of a couple bad positions and use her legs to push Tennant off her and eventually get back up to her feet. And Wolf actually was able to attack with a guillotine as well, which she jumped guard for, which I didn't think was a good decision. But it showed at least she was confident in her grappling, which is something that you do like to see. And I was very impressed with her cardio. I mean, against Tennant, who's a girl that had fought in a 5-round fight already before she fought Danielle. Wolf had already had, I believe, 3 or 4 fights. For Wolf to go in there and win the 3rd round after she was only used to fighting 8 minutes, that's pretty impressive. And I think that, that says a lot about Danyelle Wolf as a fighter. But it's tough because she hasn't fought in so long and she's that age, 39 years old. She's so inexperienced. But I'm going to pick Danyelle Wolf in this fight. I think the line is crazy, man. I mean, I'm going to bank on the athleticism, the striking advantage, the strength, the potential. Dumont, she struggles against long strikers with good movement, good speed, with straight shots. And Wolf has all of that. Wolf also has the strength advantage. I think she's going to be able to defend most of the takedowns of Dumont in the clinch. And Dumont has not proven to me that she's able to get takedowns, control her opponents over 15 minutes. She hasn't finished anyone on the ground in the UFC. And I don't think that Dumont's going to be able to just take down and submit Wolf with ease. On the feet, I think Wolf is the faster, more aggressive, technical fighter. She stepped up, beat Tanisha Tennant, who I think is just as good as Dumont. And if she's anything like she was on that night, especially if she's improved, I think she can go out there and make it really competitive or get the upset. And Dumont, she made a name off being shorter wrestlers. She beat Felicia Spencer. She beat Aspen Ladd. She beat Ashley Evans-Smith. And styles makes fights. And this is not that same style. This is the style that is given issues to Norma Dumont. This is styles that, she's lost to in her 2 losses with long girls, with Macy Chiasson, with Megan Anderson, that are 5'11", 6 foot or taller, and that could strike a little bit. And I'm going to pick Wolf by decision. I think she could get the knockout too in her first finish of 47 fights because Dumont's defense isn't good. And Wolf, she puts combinations together. She has decent power. And I think this line is insane. I mean, I think that Dumont should be a favorite, but Danyelle Wolf, I think, is bigger, the better athlete. And I think she has a lot of high-level experience in her own right, even if it wasn't in MMA. And I see her going out there and being able to get the job done here. I mean, I think that there's a high likelihood of her winning, so I'm going to pick her to get the win. And this next fight is kind of a funny fight. I mean, it's kind of weird. It's like they keep giving these guys like Jay Collier, Volante, Chase Sherman, Chris Barnett, they just keep putting them against each other. So it's fun to see. I mean, now we're going to see Jay Collier fight John Volante, Chase Sherman, and now Chris Barnett. So, Chris Barnett, these boys coming off that loss, kind of a technical decision, weird fight with Martin Buday where it looked like he was going to get finished, but ended up getting hit with some illegal shots, and the fight ended up going to decision, and he ended up losing that decision. But Jake Collier, he had that close fight with Arlovsky, split decision loss. A lot of people feel like he deserved to win this one, and I mean, I don't have a lot to say about this fight. We got a guy in Jake Collier that's a huge favorite minus 350, which anytime you see that next Jake Collier's name, that's just kind of gross. I mean, I could never, I'm not saying I don't think he's going to win, but I don't know. What can you do with that? Minus 350 with Jake Collier. But when you're looking at the fight, I mean, honestly, you got a guy in Jake Collier that's much bigger. Chris Barnett, he's a blown-up heavyweight. He's fun style to watch. He's an entertainer, throws those kicks. And, if he could explode and land a clean shot on Jake Collier, maybe he could hurt him. But Collier, he's shown a good chin. He's shown good cardio, good pressure, good boxing. I think he has the edge in all those things. And I also think he has the grappling edge. So I just think Collier's going to pressure him. And I think Barnett might have some flashes early where he lands maybe some nice crosses or some kicks or something. But I don't think he's going to be able to take Collier out of there. And I think Collier is eventually going to start to get Barnett tired by backing him up, start to put some more combinations together. And Collier tends to get better as the fight goes on. And I could see Collier hurting him and TKOing him, or even hurting him, maybe making Chris Barnett panic wrestle, or hurting him and getting on top and submitting him. So I'm going to go with Jake Collier to win this fight inside the distance, and I'll say he gets it done in the second round. And this next fight, we got a middleweight fight. We got Jamie Pickett taking on Denis Tiuliulin. And with Jamie Pickett, he's, kind of been 500 in the UFC so far. I believe he's 2-3, actually. He lost to Chukwi, and then he ended up losing his second UFC fight as well. Came back, got 2 wins in a row. Got that upset win over Joseph Holmes, but then got finished in the first round against Kyle Dawkins in his last fight, which was a big step up in competition. And Denis Tiuliulin, he has had 1 UFC fight. He went in there and kind of got dominated a little bit against Aleksei Kizraev. So he's going to be looking for a little bit of redemption. And this fight, I mean, a low-level fight, if you ask me. We got Denis Tiuliulin, who has a padded record. Only 2 of his 10 wins came against fighters with winning records. And he's 2-6 against fighters who are above 500. His UFC debut, he got submitted in the second round. But he's a guy who's a striker. He presses forward with the 1-2s and the 3-2s, good pressure. And, he has good counter exchanges with the hooks. Pretty nice knees. And on the inside, he has some power. But overextends on his strikes. His takedown defense is not good. He's tough, and he will try to work back up to his feet. But he exposes his back. He's been finished 4 times on the ground. Not really the best fighter, but he has good cardio, good power. And he's going to come forward, look to force a brawl. And opponents who can wrestle him, grab for 15 minutes, definitely will be able to beat him. But guys that underestimate him are guys that get tired and can't hold him down and end up having to, stay on their feet. He could find that counter shot and knock you out. But defense-wise on the feet, too, he very hittable and not really the most technical guy. Just comes forward and he wants to force a brawl. And he's calm and composed in the brawl, and he has good counter ability. So that's kind of what Denis likes to do. And I've seen him get some knockouts with some really nice uppercuts. So that's another strike that he likes. But Jamie Pickett, he's going to be the taller, longer guy. He's athletic. He is going to be faster. And he's not as good of a striker, I wouldn't say. I mean, he's a little bit more spastic and likes some more kind of touch and move, throw those straight shots, throw some kicks. But I feel like in this fight, he's going to want to try to just move around, use his speed, use his length, maybe touch Tiuliulin with some kind of probing shots, not really shots trying to hurt him or anything like that, or not really getting too many exchanges. And then just wait for your opportunity for Tiuliulin to overextend, where you can, get in the clinch or try to, duck under, get the back or get the takedown, get on top. And from there, you can go to work and control or do your thing. And I think Pickett, he is the more skillful, more well-rounded guy. I'm not really running to the betting window on either guy for this fight. I don't think you can really trust either guy in many fights, but I think that Pickett has more ways to win, and I think he has a really good chance. That's something that I trust. I think he'll be able to take the shots, and he usually comes in good shape, so I think Pickett is going to be able to move around, get Tiuliulin to overextend, and then clinch him up against the cage, maybe hit a couple takedowns, and I don't see him getting really a lot of top control or, a lot of good ground and pound off or taking the back and getting a submission or finishing or anything. But I think he'll be able to get a win by decision by being able to mix it up and not even really striking with him, but just using his footwork and movement and his length to, make Tiuliulin chase him and then take him down or force the clinch, hold him against the cage and get that decision. So I'm going to go with the Night Wolf, Jamie Pickett. And in this next fight, we got a rare occurrence. We got a catchweight fight of 220 pounds, and Almeida, he's a guy who is a little bit of a tweener, I feel like, and he's a guy the UFC sees something in. So I feel like because this fight was on short notice for Anton Turkalj, I'm not sure who was the one that was not comfortable with just taking the fight at heavyweight. I would assume that Turkalj probably was the one that wasn't comfortable, as Almeida's had a couple fights in a row at heavyweight, so they gave him this 220-pound cap. And I think it basically means Almeida's going to have virtually zero weight cut because he weighed in for his last fight with Parker Porter at 224 pounds. And he's been impressive so far. He crushed Parker Porter. He ran through his opponent in his UFC debut. And he's a gigantic favor here against Anton Turkalj. And Turkalj, he's a guy that's 8-0. This is going to be his UFC debut after winning on the Contender Series just over a month ago. So I'm sure he's confident. And he's fun to watch. He's very dangerous early on. He has 3 finishes in under a minute and 30 seconds. Turkalj has finished 7 of his 8 wins. and he won his last fight via decision. That was the first time he went past the second round. But he's a big guy, and he's going to be able to match the size and height of Almeida. And he also likes to grapple mainly. His striking is not the best. He's aggressive, throws a lot of kicks, but big Tao, he loads up on his shots and throws a lot of spins, spinning back kicks, spinning back fists, spinning, a lot of spinning elbows, spinning everything. He's a real spinner, and that can get him in trouble sometimes. His hands really are not there. We've only ever really seen him use his hands to blitz in to get the takedowns. He has bad defense, pretty bad head movement. He's definitely susceptible to taking huge shots, and unless he shores up his defense, I don't really see him having a super long UFC career. But Turkalj, he likes to get in the clinch and use his frame. He will try to circle to the back and kind of put his weight on opponents, mat return them, make their lives miserable until they win out of the fight. And his style is tough to deal with for a lot of 205ers because he has great cardio, he's relentless. And on the ground, he isn't the greatest, but he has good back control. He has long legs, you can get that body triangle. And he has a couple of rear naked choke wins. I haven't really seen how Turkalj does when he's put on his back, but I do see he has a couple triangles on his record, so his guard may be threatening a little bit. So we're gonna have to see if Almeida takes him down, if he has any threats on his on bottom. But Turkalj's cardio looked good in his last fight that went 3 rounds. And Jailton Almeida, though, is not going to be an easy task. Almeida has been an absolute monster so far in the UFC. He got in the UFC by beating Nasruddinov, and he went to pressure forward, get the takedown, then use jiu-jitsu to win the fight, and that's what he did in that fight, and that's what he did in his first 2 UFC fights. And he's super strong. He has very good top control. When he can get to the back or dominant position, he usually can close the show. And he's finished all of his wins. He has 10 submissions. He has 6 KO TKOs. And from what we've seen of Almeida in the UFC, basically will just come forward with the high guard, throw some 1-2s, shoot that big double leg, and either finish or push fighters to the cage, get the finish from there. And once he gets on top, he has crushing top power, uses ground and pound super well to open up transitions, good submissions. When he gets to the mount or the back, he never really loses that position, and usually will end up battering guys until they give their back or get the TKO from the mount or that rear naked choke if they do give their back. And he comes in excellent shape. I think his cardio is going to hold up. He also is at an all-time high in terms of confidence. And this is a fight I think Almeida is probably going to be able to dominate here, but there's a lot of unknowns. I mean, Almeida's minus 700, and Turkalj is a grappler in his own right. He's a long, tall fighter. On the feet, he's unorthodox, and he's explosive early. So who's ever the better grappler and wrestler is going to win. I think it's Almeida, but I would line the fight closer personally because I think that Almeida is still pretty one-dimensional, and I think he's a little overrated. I have no idea how Turkalj is going to look off his back, so it's hard to say if Almeida will get a quick finish or have to work harder. And Turkalj is going to be wild on the feet at first, so you're going to have to, maybe be a little bit worried about closing distance early on if you're Almeida. But I think once he gets it to the ground, I'm just going to say that he's going to have a big advantage because that's what we've seen so far from him. He was able to dominate a black belt and Parker Porter on the ground, so I'm going to say he's able to get it to the ground the first, get into the mount, and finish with a TKO. And this next fight, this should be a fun striking fight with Hakeem Dawodu. He's taking on Julian Erosa. And Julian Erosa, I mean, this guy comes in. He's always the underdog, it seems like. And he's been able to, in the second run of the UFC, do really well. He's gotten some big upset wins. He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He went in there. He got the finish over Charles Jourdain. He's knocked out guys like Nate Landwehr. He, in his last fight, went in there, had a war with Steven Ocho Peterson. He even finished a guy like Sean Woodson. So a lot of these fighters that have been kind of moving up, trying to progress into that top 20, top 15 type of position, Julian Erosa has been pushing him back and kind of saying, you're not ready for this spot. And I think the UFC has seen that, and they're finally rewarding Erosa a little bit, and they're giving him a bump up in the division. They're giving him a guy in Hakeem Dawodu who has been in the rankings before, a guy that has been fighting more upper echelon guys. He went in there with Movsar Evloev. And this is going to be an interesting fight because it's probably going to be a stand-up fight. Erosa, I believe, probably has the better grappling, but I don't see him being able to get the fight to the ground, so I think it's going to stay on the feet. And Erosa's not really the most technical guy, so he could be a little bit deceiving, and kind of when you watch him, you don't really think he's the best fighter, but he's 6'1", so he's super long. Tall. He only has a 2.5 reach advantage, but he's going to have a 4-inch height advantage in this fight. And he also throws a lot of variety of strikes. Throws a lot of kicks. He'll throw kicks with both legs. He can switch stances. Some nice long shots, and he has some good knees. He'll throw some flying attacks. He has decent hands. So he's a pretty well-rounded striker, and he comes forward, throws a lot of volume, forces a brawl, and he is a guy that is very hittable. He's been knocked out quite a few times. His chin has been checked, but recently he's been able to take the shots. And usually when guys can get him out of there, he can drown you and or beat you by points just by throwing more volume and being tough, being a dog. And obviously, like I said, he has pretty good grappling as well. If you take him down, he has a good submission game off his back. I don't think he's going to really have to worry about that with Dawodu, but that's something else that he has an advantage with. And I believe that if Dawodu and Erosa get in a scramble on the ground, Erosa could have a chance at snatching a submission. But Hakeem Dawodu, he's the more technical striker, Muay Thai guy. He likes to pressure forward, stay, high guard, throw leg kicks, throw some straight shots, and he has good speed and keeps everything very tight, very sharp, and his defensive wrestling is good. He has good cardio, and he also is very determined. He has good, ability to stay intense, aggressive for 3 rounds, throw a solid amount of volume. If the fight becomes a war, he's willing to engage in that war. But we have seen Dawodu get hurt before with some punches, and Erosa is going to be throwing a lot of volume and trying to make it ugly. So I think this fight's fairly close, but ultimately I just think Dawodu's a little bit sharper of a striker, and I think he's going to be able to get the better of the stand-up. So I'm going to go with Dawodu in this one. I just think he's a little bit more technical. He's going to be able to match the volume, probably throw some good leg kicks, land some nice straight shots, and I see him winning a decision in this one. And this next fight, this should be a really fun fight to watch, but in terms of breaking it down or who you're going to have a confident lean on, I think it's pretty hard. Both these guys are kind of glass cannons. They go out there, they try to get that first round finish. Both are chinny so they can get finished themselves, and then both tend to slow down and have cardio issues. I think Iwan, he is the more well-rounded guy in terms of he can grapple a little bit. He can hit some takedowns. He can get on top and do some work with the ground and pound, and he has some good pressure boxing skills. Johnny Walker, he's not really a great grappler, but he's definitely the bigger guy. He's going to have a huge height and reach advantage, and he's a little bit more dynamic with the striking. He throws a lot more kicks. He can throw knees, elbows, and has more weapons than Cutelaba. I also feel like he's probably a little bit faster. And, this fight's going to be a battle of if Walker can catch him as he closes the distance, or is Cutelaba going to be able to get inside, bomb on him, or get the takedown and go to work. And then, if this fight gets extended, who's going to be the tougher guy with the better cardio? It's kind of tough. I mean, ultimately, I'm going to go with Cutelaba. Don't really have a long breakdown with this one because I just feel like Cutelaba is going to pressure, get inside, and touch Walker on the chin first. If Walker touches Iwan at range, I definitely think he can knock him out. I don't really think Iwan has the greatest durability, but Walker definitely has a bad chin, and I think Cutelaba is going to use his aggressiveness to get inside, land that big punch, and take Walker out of there. So I'm going to go with Cutelaba, but honestly, this is a fight that I would stay far away from personally. And continuing on the main card here, we got another women's fight with Irene Aldana. She's going to be taking on Macy Chiasson. And this is a fight, again, that I like this fight. It's a fun fight, but I don't really have a great read on it. Don't really have a big breakdown for this fight. I think Irene Aldana, obviously, she has the big power edge on the feet. I mean, we've seen her in her last 2 wins. She knocked out Kellen Vieira with that left hook, and then she was able to drop Yana Kunitskaya heavy with that left hook and get on top and finish her off with a ground and pound. So she's shown that ability to really hurt girls. And Aldana just has that really sharp boxing. She has nice combinations, and she throws with real vigor with that left hook and with that right hand from the back. So she definitely throws heavy. I feel like she's one of the heavier punches in the weight. She has fast hands. She has pretty sharp hands. And in her last fight, she showed a lot of improved clinch work. She was able to work out of the clinch with Kunitskaya. She showed real good pummeling ability. And I think that she's very, very motivated right now because she knows that if she can string 2 wins together here, she can maybe get a title shot. So this is a fight that Irene Aldana, I believe, is really going to be, really, really in there and looking to get the victory and really trying to push 100%. But this is a style that she's struggled with in the past in terms of a pressure fighter, because Macy Chiasson, she's big, she's 5'11", she's going to have the height and reach advantage, and she likes to pressure forward, throw, some pretty good straight shots. Really work away in the clinch, make it ugly. Knees, kind of throw some short hooks, elbows, maybe get you to the ground a couple times. And her last fight, she looked really good against Norma Dumont up at 145. She was able to go up there, really kind of dominate the fight, won the striking realm, run the grappling realm, and kind of announced herself as a player. And even in her fight with Raquel Pennington before that, she won the first round against Raquel. She was looking good, and then Raquel was able to turn the tables and kind of rock her, force her into a bad takedown attempt, and then submit her. So Chiasson, even though she has not gotten that big marquee win over a super high level girl yet, she did beat Dumont. She had a good fight with Raquel, and she has a lot of intangibles, a lot of potential. And if she can kind of round out her game and fight to her full capabilities, I think she could beat a girl like Irene Aldana even as well. But it's I don't know. I just feel more comfortable picking Aldana because I think she's faster. I think she's going to be able to use her footwork and movement to kind of walk Chiasson into some nice counter punches. And I like the way that her clinch work looks improved in her last fight. Her ability to get off the cage, her ability to turn. Yana Kunitskaya. And Yana is a very strong girl. So I think that she's going to be a little bit harder to control in the clinch than Chiasson believes. And I think she'll be able to keep it at space more. And she'll have the foot speed and hand speed advantage. I think she has the power. And she throws a little bit better combos, a little bit cleaner boxing. So I'm going to go with Irene Aldana to get this win by decision. But this is another fight I think could go either way. I think Chiasson definitely is a live underdog. And if I were to bet it, I would actually bet on Chiasson and go with the underdog side. But as a pick, I'm going to pick Irene Aldana. And this next fight, this should be a fun fight. It's a little bit of a grudge match. We got Kevin Holland, D-Rod. They've been scheduled to fight a couple times. It just never happened. And there's been some trash talk back and forth. Not really trash talk. I mean, it's not like these guys have been disrespecting each other. But they've both been calling each other out. And D-Rod seems like he's taking a little personal that Kevin Holland has had his name in his mouth so much and talking about wanting to fight him so much. So he's, kind of, made it known and had a little bit of an edge to him this week and said he's going to shut Holland up, give him what he wants. But it's all, trash talking in the spirit of competition, nothing ugly. And it should be a really fun fight. I mean, Daniel Rodriguez, we haven't seen him in a long time. His last fight was in there when he fought Kevin Lee. And then after that, he's had multiple hand surgeries and just had issues getting back in the cage. So it's good to see him jump back in here. And it is a short notice fight. So I know he's been back in the gym training, getting in better shape. But I do think that gives a big advantage to Kevin Holland, who's been more active, who is very used to taking these short notice fights and has, been fighting a lot more recently. So I think he's going to be a little bit more sharper and in form, maybe a little bit better cardio. But this fight is at 180 pounds to offset that short notice nature. So Holland isn't going to be in that same 100% optimal shape that he is at 70s. I was really impressed with his last two performances at 70s and how his body looked, how fast he was and everything like that. He'll probably be a little bit less good shape, a little bit slower, but he's still going to be, that same Kevin Holland. And both these guys are probably just not going to have to cut much weight. But, yeah, man, it should be a really fun fight. It's going to be probably a stand-up fight. I don't really see D-Rod being able to get any takedowns. I don't think Holland's going to be able to get any takedowns. And, it's going to be interesting because D-Rod's a really good boxer. He likes to pressure forward. He has a real sharp jab. And then basically what he does, he basically try to float his chin and almost like goad these guys into exchanges where he has his chin right there for you on a platter, like you could take it, but he's like able to lean back and throw these big power hooks where you wouldn't think he could really generate a lot of power, like leaning back, not really stepping into the punch, but he could just whip those hooks, and it looks like he really hurts guys with those short hooks, and he's able to keep the range with those with the jab, kind of beat you up with the jab. And then when you try to close distance and brawl with him, he can hit you with those short hooks and really hurt you. And once he starts to see you slow down and wither, then he starts to put combinations together off the jab and really throw a lot of volume, go body head, and start walking you down and drowning you. And he throws hella volume. The guy's throwing 150 strikes a fight, and has really heavy hands as well. So it's not like he has one punch knockout power, but he has thudding power. And as he starts hitting guys, you see kind of their power bar, their cardio bar go down, and D-Rod starts to really boss the fight and take over. And D-Rod has been able to get a couple of finishes as well with punches, so he has shown a lot. And his takedown defense has really improved. He, I believe, does a lot better against the style that he's been fighting recently, though, like the Preston Parsonses, the Kevin Lees, the Mike Perrys. fighters that are wanting to get in his face, and they're not going to be hard to find. They're not going to be on the back foot. They're not long strikers, and I believe that's what's given him more issues. I mean, we did see him, even though it was a controversial loss, take that loss to Nicholas Dalby, who's kind of a point fighter that sticks and moves. And we saw him get dropped against Dwight Grant, get hurt pretty badly before he came back and recovered against a real nice long striker. And even on the Contender Series against Rico Farrington, where he fought a long striker, we saw him get hurt to the body in that fight. So Rodriguez, he sometimes can close the distance with a sloppy jab, or kind of jab and then try to step forward after the jab and put combinations together and leave his chin exposed. And Holland is a sniper, man. I mean, Holland is definitely not as good of a boxer. Like, if they get in a phone booth and exchange, I think that D-Rod's going to get the better of that all day. But what Holland has is, he has a really long frame. He's 6'3", 81-inch reach. He's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage in this fight. And he also is very fast. I think he has a speed advantage. He's really good at throwing that right cross, the 1-2s. And he's real unorthodox, real weird striking, side kicks. His punches come from weird angles. And he has that weird, stunning, stinging power. And I think that in this fight, what he's going to need to do is start attacking the body heavy. I mean, you've seen D-Rod get hurt to the body. So what I would do is I would try to keep the distance, throw those front kicks to the body, spam them, front knees to the body. Anything you can land to the body as D-Rod's trying to come in to stop him from closing the distance. And, start to slow him down with those body work. And then eventually I think that D-Rod's going to give you those openings where you can land those big counter crosses. And for D-Rod, he's going to have to get on the inside, make it more of an ugly fight, get Holland to fight more in a phone booth, get him backed up with double jabs, triple jabs, get him to the cage, throw combinations, and really try to put it on Holland. And ultimately, though, I'm going to go with Kevin Holland because I think he has the speed advantage, and I just feel like he's going to be able to snipe it from the outside with some big shots. I also think that, like I said, those front kicks to the body could be effective. I see this fight, I think D-Rod is a lot better than who I'm going to name, but if you remember Kevin Holland when he fought a guy like John Phillips, someone that has big power, someone that comes forward and looks for the knockout, I think that it's going to look similar to that, where Holland's going to keep the range and be a little bit more smart. But I think that he's actually going to get D-Rod out of there. I think he's going to be the first guy to finish D-Rod with strikes, but I think it's going to be him hurting him to the body and then TKOing him. So I'm going to go with Kevin Holland, and I'm going to say he gets a TKO. And I'm not sure we got the co-main event, and this should be a fun fight. I mean, it's two guys that are action fighters, two fighters that have some really, really fun knockouts in the UFC. And, man, I mean, anytime Tony Ferguson's going to fight, I don't care what anyone says, I'm going to be excited. I'm going to be pumped for that fight. And there's a lot of things that I like about, what I see from Tony Ferguson this week. I mean, I like the move to 170. I like that he's in a more jovial mood. I mean, it seems like he is more carefree, more confident. He's teamed up with gyms again. He's starting to work with real coaches. And for a long time, man, I mean, I know, at this point, a lot of people are going to say, what's the matter and things like that. But Tony, he was working with Tommy Aaron and some of his own students and people like that. And he wasn't training with anybody. I mean, it was just him and these guys that are, not UFC level guys. And they were training in the open mat. And now he's going in there. He's getting some training in different gyms. Jackson Wink. He, went to, I believe, a few other gyms as well. And, he's gotten some work with some good coaches. He's gotten to spar some high-level opponents. He's been able to get some time in the cage. And this is a short notice fight, which I believe, at least in terms of the preparation, and there's another thing I'm going to talk about that I don't like about it in a little bit, but I think that favors Tony as well, because you see Tony's been working his ass off, man. I mean, you look online, he's been really being in optimal shape. He's been lifting real heavy, and I think that he's going to be, at least cardiovascularly, technically, he's going to be really, really sharp for this fight. I think he's going to be ready to go, and, there's certain other fights where I believe he probably wasn't training, the right way like he is for this one, and, but the one thing I don't like, I mean, on top of that, I like that it's at 172, and I think that obviously he's going to be able to be a little bit faster, a little bit, fuller during the week. He's not going to kill himself with the weight cut, and he's still going to be the significantly bigger fighter in the cage on fight night. So that's another thing that's good for him against the Leech. But I just don't like the real short comeback, man. Short turnaround with Michael Chandler. I feel like should have taken more than 4 months off. But, that was the first time Ferguson, ever got knocked out cold like that. We did see him get TKO'd against Justin Gaethje, but even that TKO, obviously he took an insane amount of damage, but it wasn't like a TKO where he was out cold or finished. And yeah, so I'm not necessarily sold on him just having no chin anymore. That's to be determined, and that's something that we're gonna have to see in this fight. But matchup wise, I feel like it's a good matchup because you look at the Leech and you look at the guys that the Leech loses to, it's all pressure fighters. I mean, he's good against guys that want to stay on the outside and play that kind of Sanda style because that's what the Leech really likes to do. The Leech is really, really fast, and he doesn't throw a lot of volume. He doesn't really throw many extended combinations, but he's just really good at darting in and catching you with that rear cross. And when he can catch you with it, then he can start to get his timing, start to land more shots, start to control the distance better, get you more hesitant to close the range, start landing those weird side kicks and round kicks to the body, and that's where he starts to really open up his game. But if you notice, like guys that really can effectively pressure him, cut the cage off, get him into that boxing range, use the jab to throw combinations, he gets super wild, man. I mean, the Leech is not good in the pocket. He doesn't really have good boxing. He really just likes to throw those one and done type kill shots and use his speed and footwork and kind of control the range. And he's really struggled in certain fights. Like you go and watch his fight against Neil Magny. I mean, Neil Magny basically just beat him on the feet with the jab. I mean, he was closing the distance, he was switching stances and just working that long jab. And the Leech couldn't get on the inside. He couldn't really, time that overextension or Magny getting into his range. And Magny was able to use that stick to back him up and then get on the inside, throw combinations, clinch him. And he made the Leech turn into a wrestler in that fight. And one thing about the Leech, too, is when he's in fights where he's forced to move backwards and there's a lot of action, he gets tired quick, man. I mean, he doesn't have the best gas tank, I don't believe. So I think there's certain things that the Leech really struggles with. And you see him against guys that are going downhill, that throw coming forward, have that nice check hook. I've seen him get caught with that check hook multiple times. Like when he fought David Zawada, he got dropped twice. And we've seen the Leech be in a lot of danger in a lot of fights, but he just has that equalizer with the knockout power. And with this matchup, I mean, Tony Ferguson's going to have a huge, gigantic advantage in the grappling. We've seen the Leech against other guys. I mean, his grappling is pretty subpar. He doesn't have great takedown defense. His jiu-jitsu is not really there. And we've seen him submitted and exploit on the ground against a lot of guys. His takedown defense has improved quite a bit, and that's going to be the battle. I don't really see Tony being able to take him down, so I think that it's probably going to be more of a stand-up fight. And, yeah, I mean, with Tony Ferguson, you know what we're going to get. I mean, we're not going to get the same guy that was fighting Edson Barbosa or something like that, where he still has the same style. He switches stances to cut the cage off, closes distance, and has a really nice jab. I feel like he has underrated boxing. His head movement has improved quite a bit. And then once he gets you in that chaos, man, he's going to throw hella volume. He's going to be mixing in the elbows, trying to inflict maximum damage. And if you take him down, he has really good jiu-jitsu off his back, elbows off his back, scrambling ability. If you shoot in on him and from too far or leave your neck exposed, he can snatch that neck, and he has incredible darces. And I mean, I know people are, writing the obituary and throwing it, the dirt on his grave. And I get it. I mean, it's hard to go out here and pick Tony Ferguson in this fight, but, matchup-wise, I just don't, the Leech isn't a guy, I don't see him being able to really, unless he puts him out with one punch in the first round, or I don't think he's going to be able to stay up with the volume and keep that cardio, man. I really don't. I mean, maybe I'm going to look like a complete idiot again. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I'm not sitting here and I'm not super confident on either side. I feel like Leech is a guy that's a little bit overrated. I mean, we're talking about a guy, man, that has gotten dropped by people that aren't even good, man. People that aren't even in the... He got dropped by Bobby Nash. I mean, the guy got dropped twice in the first round by David Zawada. He got dropped by Frank Camacho. I mean, all these guys have been able to hurt the Leech at certain points. And I think if Ferguson hurts him, I think he's going to take that neck home in. I think he'll hurt him, and I think he's going to snatch the neck and get the finish, or even could get the TKO. I mean, it's a fight where I believe, the Leech is just going to be looking to counter with that right cross or the left hook. And if he finds that kill shot, if he lands that clean left hook right on Tony's chin, I mean, yeah, maybe we could see Tony Ferguson get knocked out for the second time in a row if he lands that big explosive right cross. But you don't have a lot of weapons to really worry about with the Leech. You only have those two weapons, really, that right cross and the left hook. You know he's going to be throwing super heavy, so you have to be very careful. And you know he has great speed, and he has good footwork. He's light on his feet. He moves and pulls guys into his shots. So don't chase him. Head him off. Use the jab. Be very, very smart in how you close the distance and get him into that boxing range where you could, throw combinations, and he's going to get spastic, and that's where you can get wild. Or where you can, land your shots. He's going to get spastic and wild, and you can land, counters, you can land elbows, you can land jabs in there, and just overwhelm him. And your cardio advantage is going to be major. Your grappling advantage is going to be major. I think that at 170, Tony's probably going to be a lot faster. I mean, he's not going to have to cut down the 15 pounds. He's going to be facing guys that are a little bit bigger, a little bit slower, have a little bit more weight on him themselves, and he's going to be able to probably be a little bit fresher, not have that same kind of, pounding the day before on his body. And I think he's going to look better, man. So I'm going to go with Tony one more time. I'm going to pick him to get the win in this one. And I honestly think if Tony can't beat the Leech, I think, yeah, man, I mean, maybe it'd be time to look at retiring and all that. But, I think that this is a matchup that he definitely can win. I mean, you look at the guys that he lost to. I mean, Michael Chandler, all those guys are in the top 5, man. I mean, the Leech isn't, I don't think he's ranked at welterweight anymore. And if he is, he's in the bottom 10 to 15. It's not going to have to deal with the guy that is a dynamic striker that has, kicks and elbows and knees. I mean, you're only going to have to deal with the guy really that you're going to have to worry about the hands. And it's not a guy that is a huge monster at 70s. He's not going to take him down and grind on him. It's going to be a striking fight. It's a guy that likes to brawl. It's a guy that is wild and willing to engage. And I think Tony is going to go in there and have some fun, man. So going to go with Ferguson. He has a big reach advantage. He's going to be the bigger guy in there. And I think he has more ways to win. I think he is way more experienced against tougher, higher level opposition. And I like his, the way he's talking, man. I think he has the confidence. I don't think anything has really kind of pushed him back. And I feel like, as long as the chin is there and it's not too early for him where he gets touched once, not even clean, he's going to get put down, then I think he can go in there and get the job done, man. Especially if he can get past the first round and have a fight pushed at a high pace, I think he could start to take over. So give me Ferguson in this one to get the second round submission. And finally, we got the main event here. We got probably the most highly anticipated fight of the year with Khamzat Chimaev taking on Nate Diaz, and potentially Nate Diaz's final fight in the UFC. And man, I mean, I think Nate's going to go out here and probably sell his fourth $4 million pay-per-view here. He had the 2 with McGregor. He had the 1 with Masvidal. And now this one I think is going to sell over 1 million pay-per-views too. And if this is the last fight, I mean, what more could you ask for him? I actually was really annoyed a little bit with the lead up to this fight. Like some of the people's reactions and talking about this fight, like they're just like, come on, man. Like, keep your opinions to yourself sometime. Like, especially like fighters, people like Dan Hardy. Like, I really was rubbed the wrong way, specifically like with when I remember what he was saying, like where he was talking about, like the UFC should get criminal charges against it's gonna be, an assault charge on Chimaev and all that. Like, man, come on, man, shut up, bro. Like, that's disrespectful. Like, dude, would you want Dan Hardy's fighting? You want Nate Diaz coming out there talking about like how he's gonna get beat up so bad there's gonna be a criminal charge against his opponent? Like, bro, they signed for the fight, and Nate's a beast, man. I mean, the guy's a warrior. It's not like he has the skills of Harry Hunsucker or something. He's going to be going in there and just getting fucking destroyed in 30 seconds. Like, I mean, if you think that's going to happen, I mean, okay, but like, let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. And I get, why people like, they're saying it from the right kind of thing. They're trying to say, Nate should have got a better fight, a more fan-friendly, a more appeasing fight for his style and the fan style, and a fight that he could potentially win for his last fight. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but dude, like, you got to give credit to Nate too. Like, this is what he wants to do, man. I mean, even if, let's say, he didn't want to fight Chimaev, because obviously I think he probably would have rather fought Poirier or someone like that, but man, I mean, this guy's been his last fight was against Leon Edwards. He fought George Masvidal. These guys are in the top 5 of the weight. Like, it's not like he hasn't been fighting this level of competition, and now he's all of a sudden taking a big step up and it makes sense. Like people are saying, it makes no sense. It makes sense, man. Nate Diaz, he's the biggest star in the UFC right now. I mean, I guess outside of Conor, but he's not really active at the moment. And Chimaev can go in there and get this star build off of him, and we'll see what happens. But it's not like Nate has he's just gonna get ran through like a bum in this fight. I just don't agree with that, man. I mean, you look at Nate, and people like to shit on his career and act like he was the worst fighter that is a name and he's so overrated and all that. But where are all the guys? You go back and look, man. This guy came in the UFC in 2007. Takanori Gomi was the best fighter in the world at lightweight in 2007. Where is Takanori Gomi at? Who is he fighting? He was getting knocked out 5 years ago, and I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but it's just Nate Diaz is fighting the best guys in the world, and he's been fighting the best guys in the world. So yeah, you're gonna have some losses, man. But if he went down and started where's Anthony Pettis? He's fighting in the PFL. Jim Miller, Cerrone's retired. Jim Miller, he's fighting a lot lower level competition. You look at guys like Frankie Edgar, they went down 2 weights. You look at BJ Penn, he's gone. Benson Henderson is gone. He's still fighting, but he's over there in Bellator. We got Gray Maynard. I mean, where are all these guys at? Nate, for being such a bad fighter, he's still been able to go in there and compete. I mean, in the last fight, you could say he got destroyed or whatever against Leon, but he didn't get finished, and he was able to hurt the current champion of the welterweight division, and he's a lifelong lightweight in the 5th round, and he was able to hurt him. He never got hurt in that fight. It wasn't like he was getting absolutely destroyed, beaten from pillar to post. So if Chimaev goes out there and takes out Nate in 1 minute, I mean, what does that say about Leon Edwards, the champ? What does that say about Usman losing to a guy like that? I mean, Nate is not just a pushover, man. So to me, it rubbed me the wrong way, because it's just because someone has so many losses and you see them in there, you got to look a little bit deeper into it, man. Nate beat almost all the guys from his generation, right? You look like he has wins over Jim Miller. He beat Cerrone. He beat Anthony Pettis. He beat guys like Gray Maynard twice. He beat Takanori Gomi. He beat guys like Melvin Gillard. So he beat almost all the guys of his era. He even beat guys, past his era. And you got to respect it, man. I mean, he's been able to go in there and stay competitive with the best of the best. If you put Pettis against these guys, you put Jim Miller, so they're getting taken out, man. I mean, and Nate is still in there. He's still competing, and he's still doing his thing. And even if you think, he has no chance to win the fight, it's you still got to look at it objectively, right? It's not like the UFC doesn't put bigger mismatches on every card. This isn't that big of a mismatch. You look at Nate, I mean, he is the better boxer and the better grappler. He has the length advantage, the reach by 1 inch. I mean, it's not like he has 0 advantages in the fight. He has the experience edge. Obviously, I mean, when you look at the fight and when you break it down, you can't, in my opinion, it's hard to just sit there and pick Nate as a pick. I mean, obviously, I'm going to go and head and pick Chimaev. And when you look at how the fight plays out, yeah, I mean, Chimaev, it should be a gigantic favorite. He's the bigger guy by a large margin weight-wise, even though Nate's going to have the 1 inch in reach. He could fight at 185. He's probably going to be, a good bit heavier than Nate on fight night. He is the younger guy. He's faster. He's more powerful, more explosive. He has better wrestling. I mean, all that for sure. And I also think that Chimaev's last fight with Gilbert Burns is huge. I think that was a massive thing. I think if Nate would have fought him before Chimaev fought Gilbert Burns, I think he would have had a lot better chance to win, because you go and look at that fight with Chimaev, and Chimaev, before the fight with Gilbert Burns, had never faced any adversity in his career, and he thought he was going to run through Gilbert Burns just the same. And what he had to do was face that adversity. He had to go through a fight that was a lot harder than he thought it was going to be, and he did it, man. I mean, he showed the heart of a champion, and he showed that he's willing to dig deep and do that. And now I think, with this second opportunity against another higher level guy that he's not just probably going to be able to run through real quick, he's going to know, I mean, okay, I can't just push it and just 100% just go and try to blow this guy out of the water. And, if he does do that, which, I'm not 100% sold that he has 100% learned that lesson either, because you still see him. I mean, even today, I guess he had some incident with Kevin Holland and then Paulo Costa, and that what led to the end of the press conference. And then you see him earlier in the week arguing with Paulo at the PI, and it seems like he's not really 100% focused on Nate, but I think he's going to know in the back of his head, like, this guy's probably not going to go anywhere for a while. I'm not going to be able to just go out here and just close the distance and punch this guy one time and knock him out. And he's tricky. I mean, Nate's long. He's southpaw. He throws some nice straight shots, good combinations. He doesn't really have that power, and that's been the big detriment to him. But he lands clean shots, man. I mean, real nice 1-2s, real clean punches. I think he is a better stand-up striker than Gilbert Burns. I mean, it's a different style. Burns is a guy that really likes that check hook. He'll throw the big overhand rights, and he has some of the best power in the division. He also has some nice leg kicks, and he's an explosive guy. But Burns, very, basic. He loads up on all his punches. He's really just coming with that left hook or the big right hand. And Nate southpaw, he's a lot longer, and I think he's a lot trickier. So I think, he could, land shots that Chimaev doesn't see coming, stun him on the feet. And I think if it stays stand-up, I think that, Nate's going to get clipped with some big shots. And if Chimaev has that, ability to put him out, I mean, show that crazy power, because we know Nate has an amazing chin. And then, hey, I mean, that would be awesome. I mean, we'll see Chimaev just knock him out, and we'll say, I mean, fuck, man. I mean, this guy's crazy. But if he doesn't have that knockout power like that, he's not able to get Nate out of there, I think these exchanges could get interesting. I mean, I think Nate could start to slip and land some nice shots in there himself. But ultimately, I mean, I don't think Chimaev is going to let that happen. What I think Chimaev is going to do, and, how I see the fight going, is I think it's going to be, more of a boring fight for a while. I mean, I think that Chimaev is just going to take him down, and I don't see him taking a lot of risks on the ground, because you see him against certain grapplers, like even before he went to the UFC, you see him a little bit trepidatious, like in certain guys' guards. It seems like he's a little bit worried of the leg attacks, a little bit worried of, getting caught in a triangle or an armbar. And I've seen him stand up outside of people's guards several times and not really be that comfortable there. And, obviously when he fought Gilbert Burns, he didn't really want anything to do with the grappling, staying on the mat long term with a guy at the jiu-jitsu pedigree of Burns. But I think with Nate, I think he is going to be able to stay in Nate's guard and be relatively safe. And I say that because if you watch Nate's fight, with George Masvidal, that kind of, to me, was a little bit telling, man, because Masvidal isn't a great grappler. It's not like he's ever been known for having real good top control, heavy ground and pound, or anything like that. And he was able to land some vicious ground and pound on Nate, man, inside of Nate's full guard, and really land heavy. He busted him open, and that's what I think Chimaev is going to do. I think Chimaev is just going to hang out inside the full guard. He's not going to really look to pass too much, and he's just going to be looking to land those shots, body head punches, body head elbows, and try to posture, land some big shots, and cut Nate. And I don't really see it like everyone else. Like, I don't think he's going to knock out Nate unconscious or submit him. I mean, I think he has a fat chance of submitting him for sure. I mean, he could knock him out, but I don't see that as a huge likelihood path to victory for Chimaev. I think if he gets the TKO, it's going to be a cuts TKO with elbows on the ground, or maybe, a big punch on the feet that cuts Nate. But I don't think he's just going to finish him with strikes or finish him off with a ground and pound on the ground or submit him or anything like that. I don't see it being quite as big a mismatch as everyone says. I mean, it could end up looking like a mismatch on paper with just one guy taking him down and beating him up with ground and pound for 5 rounds, but I don't think it's going to be like, oh, like Nate can't compete on the feet. Look at him. He's getting pieced to bits, dropped every 15 seconds. He's getting his guard passed, and Chimaev is mounting him, taking his back, and just beating the shit out of him on the ground. Like, no, I don't think that's going to happen. So I think Nate is going to, pose some problems, and I think Nate has a lot of motivation coming into this fight, man. I mean, he has, him versus everybody in the UFC, basically. I mean, and he knows that, and I think that's obviously, something in the back of his head that, he wants to give a big fuck you to everyone out the door. And even if that doesn't help him get the win, because I think, to say he's going to get the win is tough, but it could help him, have some moments and survive and, do better than people anticipate in the fight. And I think that could potentially happen. But either way, man, I mean, if this is Nate's last fight, you got to, wish him success with everything. He's got that real fight promotion going on. And yeah, I mean, anyone that likes fighting, likes, MMA, there's certain people, I guess you can like certain style, right? Like if you're into that, oh, this guy has great ring generalship. Oh, look at this wrestler. He's taking him to the ground, holding him on his back and winning by points. Yeah, you might be into certain guys. But if you're into just raw fighting, going in there trying to finish someone trying to finish you, and 100% real about it, and there's no going in there trying to get points. There's none of that. It's just pure warfare. Then you're gonna watch a Nate Diaz fight every time, and that's why certain of these guys, man, you gotta remember, like, when you're a new fan, because like there's a lot of new fans now, right? And it's like people that you're watching now. It's everything is this can happen to every fighter, man. I mean, this is a life of fighter where there's gonna be a upward trajectory and then the downward trajectory. So guys like Tony Ferguson, guys like Nate Diaz, like even if they're on losing streaks, even if you think they're gonna lose the fight or maybe they're not even close to the same level as they used to be, just appreciate them being in the cage, man, and show them love and be like, they built it up for a long time, and it's okay, maybe it's their turn to die off at the end, but if you're going to support someone for a long time, support them all the way to the end, man, even when it starts to get to the bad times, because it's just dumb. Like, the people that you're supporting now, eventually they're going to be where, Nate and Tony are at the end of their careers, and it's, you gotta, to me, it's like, stick with people throughout the whole time, man, and, you gotta show respect to what people have done in the past, so, big ups to Nate, and, Khamzat too. I mean, this is the business, man. I mean, Khamzat's going to be a motherfucker for a long time, and if he goes out there and destroys Nate, he could be huge right away, and even if he gets a win, if it's a hard-fought win, if it's any type of win, he's going to get the rub, man. I mean, we saw Nate give the rub to Leon, we saw him give the rub to George Masvidal, and yeah, man, he's making another guy for the UFC, for Abu Dhabi, for everything going on with that deal and everything for them, and yeah, we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun either way. I mean, I know everyone that's talking shit about it, they're all going to show up and watch it. So I'm still going to pick Chimaev, and I'm going to say that he wins by 4th round TKO with a cut, but I wouldn't be shocked if it went to decision either. I think that it's going to be a different type of fight than people think, because I think that there's a lot of pressure too. I don't think Chimaev is going to be, quite as carefree in there as Nate. I think Nate's a lot more comfortable in there on fight night, and we'll kind of see that bear out. I know Chimaev has that kind of crazy demeanor, but it's gonna be wild on Saturday in that arena, man. I mean, Chimaev is used to being the fan favorite, being cheered and all that. He's gonna get booed to shit in this one. It's gonna feel like Mexico in there, man. I mean, we're gonna have Nate, Tony, co-main event, D-Rod. They're gonna have Irene, Aldana. They're gonna have Martinez. So there's a lot of gonna be a lot of Mexican support, I think. And yeah, man, I'm excited for this fight. I'm excited to see what happens, and yeah, man, I'm more optimistic about a good fight and about seeing, some success from both guys than maybe some other people, but I'm still going to pick Chimaev to get the win, and yeah, man, so that's the full card breakdown for UFC 279. Once again, sorry for putting it out so late. Hopefully, I can still get some views on this one. You guys still support the video. You haven't watched too many prediction videos or getting bored of it, so yeah, man, make sure to still give it a look. I feel like I give some of the best info, best videos out on YouTube, and my track record speaks for itself. I'm almost at plus 90 units for this year. We've had 4 consecutive years of positive, betting ROI, and yeah, man, I feel like I always give out good tips, good information. So really appreciate everyone that watches, and like I said at the top of the video, if you want to get access to the 4 bets that I have currently and some other bets that I will put on most likely before Saturday night. And also, you can get access to LFA and a couple other events going on this week that I will break down a little bit. And then check out patreon.com/MMA Prediction Guru. And make sure to put a like on this video. Let's try to get 150 likes. But as far as my play of the week this week, I'm not going to do a parlay. I'm just going to do a play of the week on Johan Lainesse. I'm going to pick him to get the win here. He's a slight underdog. And for my most confident pick, I'll go with Jailton Almeida. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back next week, hopefully a little bit earlier for you guys. And besides that, I'll talk to you guys later.